Hello, everybody, and welcome into the Pigskin Project YouTube channel. I am Matt Hartman, and today, before we talk about the video you're about to see, I want to acknowledge the passing of Cowboys pass rusher Jaelan. He was 24 years old, and all the indications seem to be by suicide. And I just want to say on the record, if you have any awkward relationships in your life, someone you don't see, someone you don't interact with, or even people that you see on a day-to-day basis, give them a call, give them a text. They will appreciate it, I promise you. And just tell them that you love them, because things like this really put into perspective what we have as a gift. And so before we get into the trade stuff, that is kind of second to anything that I'm talking about here. I just wanted to acknowledge that, and hopefully you take my advice. That would be much appreciated. But on to this video, we're talking about the trade deadline reactions. Sauce Gardner, Rashid Shaheed, Jakobi Meyers, Quinnen Williams, all of the major trades that happened. Some, Jets overall takeaways because they kind of dominated the day with their headlines. But let's get you into that video. So, gentlemen, we turn over to the trade deadline and all that it brought us on a beautiful Tuesday yesterday. Some
Before,
major. Yep.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, before we dive into it, I just want to say a couple things really quick after the injury report, because there was a team that, definitely was in the midst of a lot of different trade discussions, and I'm not seeing them anywhere on our trade deadline deals notes, and that's because they didn't make a move, and it surprises me. That team being the 49ers, and given that Michael Williams had gotten hurt, they're still in play for their division, like
Mm-hmm.
very much, and they still are very much in play for a playoff berth. As a Bears fan, looking at the end of the schedule, looking at that game, like that one might have playoff implications. They are a team that is staying competitive for the season. So, with that being said, not buying into that is a little weird to me, just because like you can go on and, make the playoffs and potentially go on that run, no matter who's at quarterback, apparently. And I understand maybe not buying into that because of that. You don't know if you're a Super Bowl caliber team or not.
Mm-hmm.
However, I could almost always make the argument that nobody thought the Commanders were a Super Bowl caliber team last year, and they made it all the way to the NFC Championship. So it's literally, this season has been the definition of any given Sunday, anything could happen. And I guess with this talented of a roster, whether they're hurt or not, being that heavily involved in trade discussions, I'm surprised that they didn't land anybody, whether it was depth or an actual star. Again, not saying that it would necessarily be a good move to do this. I don't consider them Super Bowl contenders, but saying that they were heavily involved. And I'm just surprised that we don't see their name today.
I think it was good for them to not do that. Again, there's just so many injuries. Don't waste talent, don't waste picks to trade away for a season that in all intents and purposes is just going to be lost because of the
Yeah.
injuries. Like if it was fully healthy and you felt like they were 1 to 2 pieces away, sure. But again, with all of the injuries that they've suffered, I think it was probably smart of them to not buy at the deadline. That being said, the other team that I'm shocked didn't make any moves was the Steelers. They were the team that I was really shocked didn't make any moves, because at least as of right now, I mean, regardless of what we think of them, they have been winning games, and they kind of look like they might be able to give some teams some trouble. I mean, just like they did with the
Yep.
Colts this past weekend. I'm shocked that they didn't make any moves at the deadline to at least try to bump themselves up a tier. But, it is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, for the Niners' point, I think even if Bosa was out and Fred Warner was still playing, I would have justified anything because I
Yeah.
think that guy is just so good. And putting him on the field, I think would. But with both of them out, I just it sucks to say a 6-3 season like is probably a lost season. but it is. It just, I mean, you're gonna piece together this defense. They don't have an outstanding amount of picks. That's what I was looking up here. Like say you and you think about Cincinnati with Hendrickson. That was the biggest. That was the biggest one, right? And even were they mentioned in Jermaine Johnson sweepstakes? Like I feel like I saw their name. That would have been the 54th pick, like their second. And if they don't make the playoff, that becomes what 45. You know, the 45th pick. I don't want to give that up right now. But we move on to deadline reactions that actually happened. Obviously, the big one, the Jets trade Sauce Gardner to the Indianapolis Colts for 2 first-round picks, and not mentioned here, Adonai Mitchell, the former second-round receiver from a year and a half ago. So Jets make out with a pretty good haul here, but it's all about the Colts getting a lockdown corner after an offseason where they sign Cam Bynum at safety for one of the richest AAVs of any safety in free agency. They sign Trevarius Ward for one of the most expensive corner contracts in all of free agency, and now they're bringing on Sauce, where they're taking on most of his money. What is it? I think after this season, his cap value goes up over 20. So this is a very expensive defense now, and this is an expensive trade capital haul. But, gentlemen, what were your first thoughts on this one?
Absolutely stunned. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I did not anticipate this whatsoever. Sauce Gardner, I mean, I would say that if it were any other team but the Jets, like, you would consider him like one of those guys, almost like, and I know this is a football podcast, but we'll compare him to the Luka trade, to where it's like, I didn't think that guy was touchable, but like, you know,
No,
now,
it's not the Luka.
I'm not saying quite. I'm saying because it's the Jets, right? I understand it. They're building on their future, and I mean they've been rebuilding for years now. But you know, more so, if it were anybody else that were trading this caliber of a player, I would have been like, "Whoa!" But understanding the Jets and where they're headed, and honestly, I mean, we'll get to it. But the fire sale that they've completed. You know, I understand it. It's just not a name that I anticipated to be available whatsoever. And 2 first-round picks is rich in the middle of the season to be given up. And it's really interesting, but it's all a matter of where you think the Colts are going to be within those next couple of years. And right now, they're tied for the best record in the league. And if they can make a push to the Super Bowl, that's almost a second-round pick. You know what I mean? And who's to say that they don't make another push, you know, maybe a divisional round playoff loss next year? You know what I mean? Again, another late first round pick. So it's like, it's not like the Colts are going to be contenders for a top 10 pick. This is more so back in first if this is where they're headed. But again, I think this is something that I mentioned in the group chat between us three after it happened was, what are we doing with Daniel Jones after the season? Because he signed a 1-year deal.
Yeah, you're saying
and you would imagine so, right? But given the caliber of player that he's, you know, performed as this season, excluding, I would say, this past week, you know, this is a guy that's probably going to be looking for a, you know, decent sized contract from a team that's QB needy. And Indianapolis would be one of those teams, and it's like, would you give him a monstrous deal like they're being handed out right now? Because as of right now, it's Daniel Jones, and I don't feel comfortable investing that much of my future into him, and that's exactly what the Colts are saying that they're going to do. Those questions come up in my mind. That's really it, but it's going to be fun. I'm really excited to see what this team can do throughout this specific season in riding out the high of Daniel Jones and how good Jonathan Taylor has been. To be able to back that up on the defensive end as well is intriguing. And honestly, like, I'm pretty sure the viewers know this. I mean, we go to the Combine every year. So living close enough to Indianapolis, despite the fact that none of us are Colts fans, you can't help but root for them, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's cool. I'm excited. Ben, what do you got?
I was absolutely shocked that Sauce Gardner was traded. He was just a name that like not a single person had like even talked about. There wasn't a rumor out there that Sauce Gardner was even on the market. But that's one of those things that, like, regardless of how you think of Sauce Gardner, because there's a wide range of how people think about him, especially considering how his play has been this year. From the Jets standpoint of it all, if you're offered 2 first-round picks for him, you absolutely take it. There's no question about it. You say, absolutely take it. I'll take your 2 first-round picks. And I don't – it's rich for sure, but I understand the move. We had talked about the Colts, and we said, well, they need to make a move at corner. Tyreek Woolen was the guy that I had mocked, but there's obviously tiers levels to all of this. And I don't think anyone, again, thought that they were going to make a move as big as what this is. And then to your point, Ryan, in terms of Daniel Jones, and we'll get into it more as the offseason starts and whatnot, I would expect, I don't think he's going to get like this monstrous contract. I would probably expect it to be something close to what Sam Darnold is getting. For those who don't know those numbers off the top of their head, Sam Darnold is on a 3-year, $100 million contract, so about $33 million AAV. I'd imagine it's probably just a little bit lower just because of sample size. We were able to see it a little bit longer for Sam Darnold, but who knows? But that's probably what I'd imagine with Daniel Jones, because all signs are pointing to them saying, you're our guy.
This is our guy.
And obviously they feel comfortable saying you're our guy because they traded away 2 first-round picks, and they thought that this move was going to be the move to set them above the teams that we had talked about. That's something that me and Matt had mentioned. Like, what team is going to make this kind of talent level swing to put them above the rest? And the Colts felt like this is that move. And they went out and they made it. And again, we'll get into the ramifications a little bit later in terms of the Jets after we talk about this next trade.
Yeah, I want to focus on this really quick and just say, like, I don't want to focus on the quarterback too much. That's obviously a conversation for another episode. But, just knowing that the Colts are willing to invest that much into the team that they currently have right now says a lot compared to where they've been for the last 3 or 4 years. So, Matt, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, Ben hit it on the head. Like, the Jones part of this is he's going to get a market inflation of what Geno signed a few years ago, of then what Baker signed a few years ago, to what Sam Darnold signed this past year. That's just what happens. It's the mid-tier quarterback extension. But it is interesting to see a team go all in because they have Daniel Jones at quarterback. It's still weird to think about, and it's still one of those things that is looming in my head that, did you pay a lot to win the AFC South, win 11 games, and all of a sudden now you have to face Kansas City or Denver at home in the playoffs in round 1? Like, that is still a realistic plausibility on the table for this team, and you still feel outmatched. Like, if this team doesn't win and make a conference championship, this trade effectively feels like a failure, right? So again, I think this is just a massive swing for a team that doesn't make massive swings. The last time they traded a first-round pick was DeForest Buckner in 2020. So you just think about how long it's been since they've made something like this. And to Ryan's point, like, they haven't been, had an opportunity to take a risk like this. And but it's, again, I think this is a talented player. It's a volatile position. And I think the Jets were in a place that no player on their roster was worth 2 first-round picks. So when you get that call from a team desperate enough, and even it's not even like Kansas City or Baltimore, where it's like, we know what this team is. They're a proven commodity. They're going to be in the Final Four in the AFC. Like, they just have the the superhero quarterback. No, it's Indy, who is still relatively new in all of this. So I'm really fascinated to see how Indy goes from here. Again, we teased it. We'll talk about the Jets in a minute as a holistic view because of our next trade. If anybody has anything left on this one, we'll swing into the next one.
I just want to add one thing really quick.
Mm-hmm.
When you throw 2 first-round picks at somebody, i.e., reportedly,
you think they complete your team.
Exactly. Yeah. And I just want to ask you guys just this one question, and just give me a yes or no because we got to move on. Do you think prior to this trade, the Colts were one player off of a potential Super Bowl berth?
I say no. I thought they were awesome. I think they've been awesome this year. They've been the best team in football this year. But at the same time, like we've seen,
You don't want to put them
times,
against Mahomes, right?
Yeah, it doesn't even matter in the regular season. I mean, Josh Allen's beaten Mahomes 5 times in the regular season. So it's like, I get that's lazy analysis. I get it's annoying to be just like, well, this 18 game sample size doesn't really matter. But we've seen too many times. It doesn't. It really doesn't.
Yeah.
So
I'm looking forward to it, seeing how it goes. Yeah. What's next up? Because the Jets have another big time player that they put on the move.
Next trade, the Cowboys acquire Quinnen Williams, the interior defensive lineman, for a 2026 second-round pick and a 2027 first-round pick. So the Cowboys end up keeping both of their 2026 first-round picks this season with the Micah Parsons trade getting from the Packers. And that 2027 pick has a caveat of whichever one's better goes to the Jets. So the Jets are getting effectively like that NBA pick swap, the swap best kind of thing. So, and then also Mozzie Smith is in this deal. That happened. So good for the Cowboys to not have him on the team anymore. But guys, what do we have on this one?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and just because I don't want to hit too much on it. Quinnen Williams has been one of my favorite players in the NFL since he was drafted, right? Ever since the bless me, thank you kind of video. That guy I think is a very underrated defensive tackle. Mm-hmm. He kind of flies under the radar because he played for the Jets. And my one catch up when it comes to the Cowboys and trading for Quinnen Williams, great move. Congratulations. You still don't have anybody in coverage. So that's my catch up. Ben, what do you got?
Yeah, again, Quinnen Williams is a great player and there's nothing against him. I hate it for the Cowboys. Again, it goes back to kind of the whole Sauce Gardner of it all. I don't think this season is a wash. And I hate to say that 9 games in because stuff could absolutely change. And maybe Quinnen Williams is the catalyst to change that. So I don't want to completely outright say that they're done because you never know, if a team catches fire at the right time. But I just don't feel like this season was the right time for them to go and make a trade for this, especially considering that you could have just paid Micah and saved yourself the headache of all of it. But different position, all of that stuff. And I like Quinnen, but I also think he gave up a lot for him. And I'm just interested to see the long-term ramifications of it as well, because they didn't want to pay Micah a huge long-term contract, but in 2 years, you're going to have to pay Quinnen a huge long-term contract. So again, that's a conversation 2 years down the road from now, but I'm just interested to see what the long-term plan in totality is for the Cowboys and more specifically this defense.
Investing in a Matt Eberflus defense that you decided not to put Micah Parsons on is just hilarious to me. Matt, didn't mean to cut you off, bro.
Yeah, I'm gonna Zach. I think this is good. I like that they made this move now, in terms of waiting, because you just think about they're 35 over the cap right now. They can restructure those big 3, and I'm talking Dak, CD, and Quinnen. They'd be over $30 million. So if I think this is pushing the chips in with the allocated resources they still have, pretty good resources. And so this didn't cripple them in a way. There's been so much talk about, would you just rather have Micah Parsons? I think we all would. I don't think we have to spend too much time on the Micah Parsons part of this anymore. That part is sailed. And whether Jerry is right or wrong, that continues to be seen. But I think this is them pushing the chips in on the table on 2027 and even 28 to a degree, because they're going to make both of those picks this year, or they're going to trade one of them for another star level player like Quinnen Williams. So again, with the money they get in free agency, you can kind of fill out the roster. I think they have the star talent. They have the quarterback. Like that's
Keep in
my point with
mind,
the Cowboys. Why I'm never going
Pickens.
to stop believing. It's just I think they have a pretty fine roster. It's just filling out the back end is going to be their major part of their offseason. And what if they just throw 2 first-round picks at it? Like, that could also, like, possibly work. So you saw the Eagles do it, and it worked. So it's fascinating to see where they go from here. They still have many steps to take, but I like investing in the quarterback and the receiver combo that they have. And yeah.
The receiver combo is the one thing I want to hit on, and I know I said it already, but Pickens is a free agent after this. So, like, please understand.
He's
like,
been tagged yesterday.
yeah. So, we'll see how that all goes because that's just a holdout that's just bound to happen, right? But we'll see. I'm excited to see how that pans out as well, but I'm with you. Let's see. Yeah, so what, you want to talk about the Jets now? Because the Jets, talk about the future, man. They got a haul. Matt, thanks for pulling it up here. They've got 2 first-round picks in 2026, and then 2 second-round picks in 2026, as well as 3 first-round picks in 2027. Now, guys, as a casual college football fan, fill us in, right? 2027, how's that quarterback class looking? Because that's the first thing on my mind.
We play quarterback classes by ear now with all the transfer portal stuff, brother.
Yeah.
Yes, amen to that. But no, I think they've done, again, I think making these 2 trades for the Jets side of it was a very smart move because they're 2 great players, but obviously those 2 players aren't impacting your ability and raising your floor to win outright. Obviously, they've won 1 game this year. So for them to be able to get out what they did from those players to now set yourself up for the future to have 5 first-round picks over the next 2 years is huge. And that is a way for you to actively be able to get yourself out of what has been a 25-year rebuild for the Jets. And hopefully 5 first-round picks can set you up. And you don't have to use all 5 of those picks. If you feel you use your picks in 2026 and you feel like you're getting yourself in a good position, just as Matt had said with the Cowboys, you can maybe trade away 1 or 2 of those picks in 2027 to then get a player that can hopefully get you even set more on the path. That being said, picks, to use kind of that basketball analogy again, they have to be used in the right way because you can be the OKC of it all and play it very, very well and set yourself up for a championship, or you can be the Nets with 5 first-round picks and still have absolutely no one to build off of. So I'm just interested to see what they do in the future, but I think on paper they have set themselves up for hopefully what is a very quick turnaround to the rebuild. And again, I say that cautiously because it's been a 25-year rebuild, but hopefully this puts an end to that.
Yeah, if only there was circumstance of like a team having 3 first-round picks in a single draft and hitting on all of them. Oh wait, the Jets did that, and I always think back like you have you have a devil and an angel on your shoulder. You could either be the 2022 Jets and find a way to get Sauce, Garrett Wilson, and Jermaine Johnson, and even Breece Hall early in the second round. Like all of those guys are impactful players and like cornerstone level players when they are fully healthy. Or you could be the 2020 Dolphins, like where it's Austin Jackson and Tua, and you're just thinking back to Noah Igbenogany. Man, thought that one would work. But you just think about all of these repercussions of it all, and I hate to be like Mr. Bland and boring, but it's like you better hit on the picks. Like we can all love the picks right now. It's not Madden. And we have no circumstance with this group in charge. Like Aaron Glenn, is Aaron Glenn making the 2027 picks if it continues to go this way? I don't know, because his whole the whole structure is following with Campbell and setting a culture, And it feels like there's so much finger pointing with this team already. So I'm like,
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like everybody's on the same page. Everybody's clearly not on the same page because, trading away two very, very impactful defensive players. I'm just interested to see how this rolls with the Jets because we have, like you said, 25 years of it not going right, even if like the turnover of coach and quarterback and GM continues to, turn and turn. But I'll leave this all with Fernando Mendoza is good. It doesn't matter at all. Like that's kind of where we're at.
Huge.
Yeah, the one thing I
Because you
want
look
to
at
mention
Patriots.
too.
Look at the Patriots. I hate their rebuild. Drake May's good. Doesn't matter.
Drake May's good.
So right now, right, keep in mind, Brees Hall, there was rumors that he had, asked for a trade about an hour before the trade deadline,
Too late, buddy.
had approached, which exactly, I was just about to say, like, great job, but here's the thing. It's not like they drafted him in the first round. They don't have a fifth-year option to use on the guy. So it becomes an unrestricted free agent following the season. And yes, they can franchise tag him after the season if they want. But it would cost them over $14 million for the 2026 season. So it's something to kind of note. I wonder if there's a team that would want to pay him that kind of money. But honestly, it's like because their asking price was a third-round pick for Brees. And I don't think that that's necessarily a bad asking price, except for the fact that when you realize that he is an unrestricted free agent and, there are teams out there that would like his services this season, but also don't know if he's willing to sign an extension there. The Chiefs, for example, was like, hey, I'll send you a fourth-round pick right now for him. And they were like really staying pat on the fact that they wanted a third out of him. So with that being said, there's going to be players for Brees. It's all a matter of is the asking price going to be met, or is this something to where it'll kind of fizzle out and maybe he just walks somewhere else? It's going to be interesting.
I mean, if they do decide long term that, like, hey, we're in a position to draft Fernando Mendoza and really get this offense turned around with a good quarterback, they have all the cap space in the world. I mean, as of right now, they're projected $116 million in cap space in this free agency. So if they wanted to turn around and say, here is a 3-year, $45 million contract, not that I think that would be a great idea, but right. If they wanted to turn around and say, that's what we think you are, and we're going to pay the Jets tax to keep you on this team, they absolutely could. And I think that's probably where their mind is at, that, like, they're just trying to play the middle ground, that, like, we're going to push this, down the road a little bit, and we'll either sign you to a long-term contract or maybe get a comp pick out of it. It's always tough to have the comp pick discussion when you're talking about a team with $116 million in cap space, because I don't think you'll probably be able to receive one with that much cap space, but that's besides the point. I think, again, this is just a way for them to push the can down the hall.
Down the road, yeah. Oh, down the hall. All right, Matt, what we got next?
Yeah, all right. We'll move on to my team. The New Orleans Saints traded Rashid Shaheed to the Seattle Seahawks, got a 4th-round pick this year and a 5th-round pick this year. Equates out to about a 3rd-round pick. So I was really excited about this one. This was something that I kind of mentioned in passing. I would enjoy Shaheed on this football team just as a, taking the lid off the defense. Because right now, the guy who, is running down the field and making those plays on the Sunday night game was, you think about, Cody White. And even like JSN is still like a major piece in throwing down the field. And JSN as a theory is so much better working in the intermediate part of the field and creating yak. So getting a true, like, I was thinking about it, like top 5 vertical threats in all of football. Like that's real deal stuff for an offense that already is like number 1 in most passing metrics. So again, a lot of people were like, "Well, why are they doing this?" You know, like they're already really, really good. Just it gives you more options to be explosive, which is what you need when you go into the playoffs. So again, and helps them down this stretch to, maybe knock off the Rams. They still play the Rams twice. So like that division is still completely open for them. So I love this move from Seattle, and the Saints get value that I thought was appropriate.
Yes, and obviously not to the same extent that we had talked about with the Colts, but this goes back to a team seeing that like the league is wide open. Can we make a move to better ourselves and hopefully bump us up a tier to make us feel more confident come playoffs? And I think this is exactly what it does. Again, now you have a very well-rounded. I don't want to say elite, but a good, well-rounded wide receiver room that's headlined by one of the better wide receivers that we've seen thus far, and then some very complementary pieces with Horton, Rashid, and Cooper Kupp when he is healthy, which who knows off and on, which obviously contributes to why they felt they needed to make this move in the first place. But again, it just gives you a very well-rounded offense as a whole to really balance what you have on the defensive side of the football. And from both sides, I think the Saints got good value, but I don't think the Seahawks overpaid for him. So, this is one of those things that you give a round of applause to both teams involved and say, good job, guys, and then carry on.
Yeah, I like the deal a lot. Like you said, it's fun, and it seems like Shaheed wants to, stick around as well in Seattle. So between him and JSN, who has been electric this season, I'm excited to see what that duo can do. As
Don't
soon
forget
as
about
this
Torrey
week.
Horton, pal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating, man. I to finally see the Saints making moves like this, like pretty smart, calculated moves in terms of like this is an expiring contract and you can't pay both receivers at this point in your rebuild. And so to send one off, I think is the right choice, and we'll see how it goes for him moving to Seattle.
And a tip of the cap again to Matt. Matt was editing our little trade deadline preview of it all, and he was like, Ben, I hate you for saying that he's going to be a Buck. I think it'd be really, really fun if he is a Seahawk, and then 2 days later, he gets traded to the Seahawks. So it's tip of the cap.
That was an important part of this. All right, this is an important part of this. Is he needed to go somewhere where I can appreciate his services, and I think I got that. So
Yeah.
which there's not many teams that I would be like absolutely not. But like if this was the Steelers, I would have been pretty upset. But we move on. Should we hit on your Eagles or hit another receiver move, Ben?
Let's hit the receiver move here.
All right. Moving on to Jakobi Meyers going to the Jags. And it's like you laugh out loud and say the Jags made another move for a wide receiver. Yes, they did. A 4th and a 6th round pick. But not so fast, my friend. The Jaguars still have 11 expected picks in this draft without their first round pick traded for Travis Hunter this season. So, again, this is kind of one of those things that would you rather have the 4th round pick if you're the Jags or have a guy that can catch the football? Like, yeah, I'd probably have Jakobi Meyers at this point in time, and I think we're going to see it. Like, dare I say he outproduces Brian Thomas the rest of the way because he can catch the football?
He might. I mean, and it was a move that they needed to make. I mean, for those who didn't watch the recap show, we spent like far too much time like saying Parker Washington's name. And I don't want to like disrespect Parker Washington, but if he's your like leading target getter, something's not going right, especially for your offense. Again, this wasn't a team that I expected to be in the wide receiver market. But when you kind of take a step back and you look at it, you're like, well, again, Brian Thomas didn't look the way we expected him, especially making that jump. And again, this is a division that's kind of open. Again, the Colts are the favored, but see if you can get a guy to hopefully settle Trevor Lawrence, which I think is the most important thing of it all. Settle Trevor Lawrence in a little bit and see if that can get him feeling more comfortable within this offense as a grand scheme. And I think this was a great move for them. And hopefully this allows, again, Trevor Lawrence to feel a little bit more comfortable and trust his pass catchers that he has. But Ryan, your thoughts?
Yeah, I would have liked to see what his market looked like, on the trade deadline, considering that it was, taken down to the final day. This is somebody that the Raiders were once looked at as like somebody they didn't necessarily want to move. But he had requested a trade early on in the season. So it's like, to me, given the fact that they knew that he already wanted out, what did that look like, in that market? And that's, that's what's interesting to me, at least. But I don't know, when you put it in the way that you did in terms of the compensation that he got moved for, I don't hate it. The only thing that I dislike about it is that he's 29 years old. I understand that he's only got a $5 million cap hit, but he's a free agent this upcoming season. You know what I mean? And with that being said, they don't have a contract in place for Jakobi Meyers. Not to say that they wouldn't put one in place, but that's not something that's even being reported on. So to me, Jakobi Meyers, despite the fact he's not physically still in Vegas, but to me, it's like you're still in the same place, because I feel like Jakobi Meyers was looking for some kind of long-term solution as well. And it's not like he's going to be getting that in Jacksonville. So, here's a 4th and a 6th round pick for a receiver that's auditioning for a different job. That's the way that I'm kind of looking at it right now. And with that being said, it's just like, I don't know if I would have given that much, but
Ryan, you're overlooking the point. He can catch the football, and he's a wide receiver.
I know. That's why I said, like, I get what you're saying, and I hear you, and I can understand it a little bit more than what I did on the outside looking in. But understanding Jaguars football, not a lot of fun to watch right now because of all the drops, but hopefully this can pull out a little bit more of BTJ as well, just because dude's really good. And, he's on a crazy slump, man. It's kind of sad, but yeah, I mean, fingers crossed. I don't know.
Quick question here for the both of you as well. Do you think they make this move if Travis Hunter doesn't get hurt? Like if Travis Hunter doesn't go on IR and he just continues to be healthy,
because they're so
do you think
different,
the Jaguars are looking to? You think they still make this move regardless?
Yes.
I'm gonna say yes, but I don't think they're gonna be as aggressive. So like maybe they move for somebody else specifically. So like they make a move for a receiver, yes, but maybe they don't get Jakobi Meyers for a 4th and a 6th. Maybe they go out and get somebody else for cheaper. You know what I mean? Obviously there's still a problem on the team when it comes to something needing addressed for the lack of catches. And they address the problem. So, that's another thing. That's why I'm like, listen, like, with Travis Hunter being out, you're getting him back. So, like, are you going to extend Jakobi Meyers or not? Because at that point, it would make a 4th round pick, somewhat worth it. But no, I don't think so either. And that's why it's like a bit of an overpay. And you're also competing in a division with a team that's currently 8-1 or 7-2. Sorry. So, it doesn't look great to me, but we'll see. I'm also really low on Jakobi Meyers compared to the
I feel like you're trying to galaxy brain this a little bit. Like I think their plan is just getting another option in the room while Hunter's out, and then having similar to Seattle, where it's just we have more options. We have more options if we're going to make a playoff push. And if he walks out the door, that's completely fine because we have a comparable player in Washington already. So I don't trip the Jaguars at all, just getting another body in the room that can play football, and for the Raiders getting something in return for a guy that they were done with. Like, flat out, I think they were just already done with Jakobi Meyers, and now with Bowers back, like, they have someone who can catch the ball over the middle of the field like what
He's
Meyers
insane.
does. So yeah, I think from that point of view, if you get 9-10 good weeks of Jakobi Meyers for this price, I think it's worth it. I do.
What else?
Yeah.
What else we got after this one, boys?
We got 2 more edge rushers to hit on, and then we'll hit like the smaller moves. Let's go to Ben's Eagles. The Eagles get Jaelan Phillips for a 3rd-round pick this season after a podcast in which Ben said he would trade a second for Jaelan Phillips. So I have to assume Ben is over the moon. I'll swing it right to him. What are your thoughts on this one?
Over the moon. It was, I had woken up like early and like right as I was making my morning coffee Monday morning, like this trade had came across and I was ecstatic. I about jumped out of my bed and I'm like, who needs this coffee anymore? I am pumped. Because again, that continues to be like the big issue for the Eagles is their inability to get to the quarterback. And I think Jaelan Phillips is the perfect guy to get it done. I think people often, and this is a conversation that we have had, are overlooking Jaelan Phillips. And I don't know if that's because he plays for the Dolphins, because he has had 2 season-ending injuries.
It's the injury.
Maybe a mix of both. But I think this is the exact move that they needed to make to kind of solidify this defense a little bit more. And this is a guy that Vic Fangio talked about so much in a high regard to begin with. So the fact that you were able to get him for a 3rd-round pick, as you said, which isn't going to set this team back because they're most likely going to have 2 3rd-round picks this year anyways. Again, it's tough because you don't quite know how the comp pick formula is going to work out. I say that because we expect a 3rd-round pick for Milton Williams. You don't know how it works out. But then the big piece of that, too, is you're trading your own 3rd-round pick. You didn't even have to trade the 3rd-round pick that you got from the Jets. And the Dolphins are taking on the majority of the cap here. That's, I think, really the big thing that I'm interested in terms of how I'm going to feel about this trade come the end of the season is what's the long-term piece for this? Or did you trade a 3rd-round pick for a guy that's going to play 9 games for you and then hit the door and walk in free agency? Or is how we going to hopefully learn from his mistakes of letting Josh Sweat go, who just dominated the Cowboys a couple days ago, and pay the man because you need the pass rush. But I think it was a steal to be able to get him. And again, hopefully it just absolutely changes this defense and injects some more life into it. And again, it was my dream trade deadline move for the Eagles. And I'm just so happy that I could sit here on the podcast and kind of gush about what this is. But your guys' thoughts on it.
I'm happy you got Jaelan Phillips for your birthday. I'm really upset to see you happy though. I just saw this. I'm like, rich get richer. Here we go. Like, you know what I mean? That's my initial reaction to it. You nailed everything else. I got a feeling I know how this is going to end. You know what I mean? And to just put the icing on the cake, in just a couple weeks on Black Friday, we got to play them. So not fun. So, and not to mention too, like a 3rd-round pick's a pretty decent price to pay. I hope that it works out for you guys. I hope that you extend them and everything goes fine and dandy and everything like that. But also screw you, man. You get all the nice shiny toys,
I love that they attack this body type. I love that they attacked a guy who's actually 270 pounds and can rush the passer, because this is something that, like, we said going into the year that I hated their edge room. Like, I like some of the things Nolan Smith does, but outside of him, it's just a lot of, guys who are 240 or sub 245. Like, it really is. It was a missing piece. It's why you go out and get Zadarius Smith for, pennies. It's why you're trying to bring Brandon Graham back to just play early down run setting. And now you get a guy who can play all 3 downs, hopefully. Like, that's the big thing. if you like this trade, then you're saying to hell with the injury stuff. He's healthy this year. He's played really good football. I can agree with that. If you don't like the price, it's because you think he's just going to get hurt again, which I can't argue with you. He's played 12 games in the last 2 seasons. This year,
Yeah.
hasn't missed a game. And also just the little interview, I don't know if you saw this, Ben, where he's talking about Vic. How he's like, there is no place I would rather be than here. So this is a guy who is coming in fresh off of like this, contract laden season, and he's rejuvenated to play for a winning organization. He's rejuvenated to play for a coordinator he likes, because we think back to Javon Holland. You remember Javon Holland, like, I think he posted something when they fired Vic in
Kicking
Miami
rocks.
where it's like taking out the trash. Like,
Yeah.
so you didn't know if he liked Vic Fangio, and he apparently loves him. So again, I think from all like the human elements part of this, also the football player, I love it for the Eagles. Also, doesn't hurt that you have a Hassan Reddick pick just in your back pocket, by the way. And the Jets got, 3 games out of him? So, like, again, just to just have that in the back of your pocket. And it's like nobody even cares about what happened with Bryce Huff now. Like, this is just, that's just what happens. So, again, great stuff from the Eagles general manager. And then we move on to the last major notable trade. The Titans trade Dre'Mont Jones to the Ravens for a conditional 5th that turns into a 4th. I don't know the conditions on it. What? I think it has to be snap share or something like that.
Yeah.
I think the Ravens just get another guy who is kind of that, like, someone compared him to Pernell McPhee the other day when this trade went down, and I'm like, oh man, that's really good. Like, that's just a great pull. It's exactly what you would think, just similar to Phillips, where it's like you just want to be violent in the run game, violent downhill, create some mismatches along the edge because he's a bigger body, and we can just let's go and just get another defensive lineman in the room. They're going to get Van Noy back. They lost they traded away Owe to figure out the back end. So, I mean, they kind of supplement his production into Dre'Mont Jones. So, I love this trade for the Ravens. And the Titans get a pick for a guy, again, like the Saints, where it's like, we're probably not going to hold on to you for much longer.
I was able to find the conditions. It's kind of not a condition that we're super used to seeing. And this is from Pelissero, by the way, so a pretty reliable source. It looks like that 5th turns into a 4th if the Ravens make the playoffs and he records 2 more sacks in the regular season, which is, again, something that we're not quite used to, but that makes complete sense for both teams, because you're hoping that making this trade kind of puts you further into that playoff contention. So it makes sense why the Ravens would agree to something like that. And again, I think this is kind of the piece that you were missing when you were trading away Odafe Owe in the first place. You now don't have a guy that can kind of pin his ears back and get after the quarterback, and Dre'Mont Jones can do that. And he's not a complete liability in the run game. You're not looking at him and saying, like, oh my gosh, this dude is an excellent, run defender. So far through the first half of the season, he's graded out quite literally like average. Out of like 116 grades, I think he's like 55 in terms of run grade. So he's like right there. He's not gonna blow you away, but he's also, you're not gonna look at him in the field and be like, what are you doing? And again, it adds that pass rushing piece that they have been missing this season, especially with Matabuke going down. So I thought it was a great trade, and I thought it was really, really good value for them to be able to get him for a 5th that is maybe a 4th. And again, that 4th won't matter because you're going to be ecstatic that you made the playoffs and that this guy actually made an impact on your team. So I loved it for them. And again, I love it for the Titans continuing to be able to build up picks in a season that is already going to be thrown away because you're not going to be able to win anything. So again, it's another one, just like we talked about the Seahawks and Saints, where I'm like, good job, round of applause for both teams.
Yeah, you hit it right on the nail. The one thing that I'm kind of caught up on is the compensation, to where maybe I overrated him. So I was like, thought he would go for a little bit more, but totally fine that he didn't. And Ravens kind of all in on this push with Lamar, as they should be, because this guy's really good at football too. So
Breaking news.
Yeah. Grass is also green. Sky is also blue.
All right, so Ryan, you have the rest of the little like notable trades that we kind of
Yeah, dude. This
speed through.
Bears just absolutely killing the deadline. I think they won it, right? Yeah, Joe Tryon-Shoyinka and a 7th-round pick for a 6th, dude. Get ready. Monsters of the Midway are back, right? Yeah, I don't even know
I
who this
looked
guy
it up
is.
on PFF. How many snaps do you think he's played this season?
Under
Oh
40.
God.
It's
Oh.
31.
31. Dang it. I
Yeah.
knew it was 31 too. I just didn't want to say it and be like so wrong. That's why I said under 40. I knew it was the 30s. Yeah, okay. Whatever. Trevor
Warm
Penning to the
bodies.
Chargers for a 2027 6th. Hey, how about that? Pretty cool.
Warm bodies.
Jair Alexander in a 7th to the Eagles for a 6th-round pick. Dude's a bum. Woohoo. And then Logan Wilson to the Cowboys for a 7th-round pick. Dude just got benched. Like, good for the Cowboys, I guess.
Of all the moves like that's of a fan base, and it's get excited your team made a trade, I guess. But my Cowboys fans are pumped to have Logan Wilson on his.
If it takes Kenneth Murray off the field, I understand that. I understand that part of it.
Yes, and you know, Agent Zero Overshown is going to be coming back here soon, so hopefully it's a revamped linebacking core for them. But again, Cowboys fans are pumped, and I'm like, pump the brakes. All right, the 2 worst defenses in the NFL, depending on what metric you look at, are the Cowboys and the Bengals, and the Bengals just benched this guy. So like, congratulations, I guess. But as you said, if it keeps Kenneth Murray off the field, that is really the big plus. So
yeah.
When quarterbacks target him this season, they have a 125.8 passer rating.
Kenneth Murray?
Logan Wilson.
So, all right.